So the title and the thumbnail has caught your attention, but look, bear with me before you get down in the comments and start going, oh, you don't know anything, da 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 da. All I want to do is have a look back at some history, some statistics, and let's just see when we get to the end what we feel Gareth Southgate has or hasn't achieved and what we really think of him during his tenure. So let's have a look at some of the stats that just relate to Gareth for a start. He's managed 102 games for England, winning 61 of those and losing only 17. This gives him a win percentage of just under 60%. It's actually about 59.8. It's about as close to 60 as you can get. What I'm going to pop up in a minute is that compared to all of our England managers going back to the year 2000. So trying to keep it reasonably recent history. It's definitely within my age group, for example, but I know also a lot of people who would have watched a lot of Gareth's tenure would not have seen a lot of this time. So let's just see what you think once you've had a look at this. So here we go. Got it all up on the screen here. As you can see, it puts Gareth second out of the managers during the millennial year era. With some interesting shouts in there. Not surprised really that Fabio Capello's up there, where you've got Gareth, sat second as I say. Sven sitting around about Gareth's sort of win percentage. Roy similar, and then it just drops off a cliff when you get to McLaren and Keegan. But let's throw another graphic up on the screen. See what you think of this when you see how many games these guys managed compared to Gareth. And boom, here we go. Right up there. Sorry, left and right all over the place. So, as you can see, as soon as you take into account how many games were played, no one comes close. So, even when you've got Fabio Capello having a pretty decent percentage, that was only across 42 games. It's barely even half the amount of games that Gareth had to manage himself. And that shows a much higher level of consistency when taking his his only person beating him, and even his nearest competitors. The closest we get with anyone is Sven-Göran Eriksson, who also did have a reasonably high percentage. But he's still 35 games short of, the amount of tenure that Gareth had. That's 2 whole tournaments, or even more. That's a lot of friendly games. That's also not dealing with the new international tournaments that we've had come up to try and stop all of the boring friendlies. So yeah, for me, I think Gareth is winning this one quite comfortably when it comes to his ability to win games. So look, let's keep this rolling. What I know is going to happen in most of your minds is you're going to go, well, of course he's won lots of games. We're going to easy opposition all the time. Okay, I understand that. But let's be realistic. England are one of easily the top 5 teams in Europe. That's not being arrogant, that's just true. We have one of the best facilities for bringing youth players through. We have fantastic players, have done for generations. We always seem to have some generational talents. What we come up against is a lot of other teams that get a generational talent once in every 10 years. And we are going to be considered the stronger team, I would say 8, 9 times out of 10 when we're playing people. It's not, but that's not just Gareth Southgate's past 8 years. That has been going on for years and years and years, and will probably always be the case because of how established football is in our country. What I hear it used for at the most is tournaments. We seem to always get the easy games, and then we fail. Well, we don't just get those games. UEFA and FIFA don't turn around and go, well, we like England. We'll let them have a nice, easy route. We get those games through 2 things. One, we always make sure that we qualify high. Under Gareth Southgate in the qualifying campaign, we've only finished second once. That usually then gives us a bit of an easier group. We always then make sure that we finish first in that group. Again, we've only ever finished second. We got lucky once that when we did finish second to Belgium, we ended up very fortunately getting what was then still deemed an easier route. But that was only on paper. On actual success at that tournament, we were still the second best team in our group, and we went up against the first best teams in a multitude of other groups. I think it's a bit unfair to sit there and tarnish Gareth with a situation of going, it's easy games, but not look at that as just being a consistent across all the managers over the past 24 years anyway. So look, let's take a little trip down memory lane, shall we? For some people who are watching this, it's no disrespect, but I know for a fact that you won't even have been alive during these periods, which is, it makes me feel old. But I think this is something that, with short-term memory being quite a key thing in football, seems to happen all the time. I think we've forgotten quite how bad England were prior to these 8 years. So what I'm about to throw up on the screen is a bit of a visual identifier for you of where we have been successful and failed in recent times. So here we go. Right, this is where we sit. We have got a timeline here showing all of the managers who were looking after the teams during these times and what they were able to achieve at each tournament. And what you can see very quickly is Gareth is by far the most consistent. He has achieved no less than a quarter-final finish. He has achieved 2 second places, and he has also achieved a 4th place finish at the World Cup during his first ever tournament. When you compare that to all of the other managers that are sat here alongside him, the last time you had someone with any level of consistency was Sven-Göran Eriksson, going back to the early 2000s. But all he could achieve was multiple quarter-final finishes. It's like watching Arsenal in the Champions League these past years. They can't get past it. It's impossible. Beyond that, it's abject failure. We've got round of 16s. We've got do not qualifies. We can't even make it out of the groups. It's fair to say, from my point of view, Gareth has been the most successful, the most consistent, and he inherited this team from his predecessors. Let's be clear. Yes, the past 2 tournaments he has had world-class players. But prior to that, he did not. He had a broken team. He had a team full of average and a couple world-class talents here or there. And we've had golden generations before that these managers have looked after. And they could not achieve what Gareth could with his team. And I think that's really important to remember our history. Because absolutely, I think when you hear someone like Roy Keane talking every single game of hand England the trophy, this is arrogance. When I look back on this timeline, I get where he's coming from. We should be glad where we came. And we'll come on to what I think about where this leads us in the future. So, let's put it this way. I posed the question to you at the start of the video, is Gareth Southgate an England legend? Look, I totally accept that. Is he one of the most tactically superior managers out there? No. Do I think that if he goes straight into another management job, he will struggle because club football is going to be very different and he will be found out? Yes. Do I think that his substitutes come way too late and are absolutely fortunate to make the difference that they do rather than actually make a change in a game and allow us to control and win games? Yes, I do think that he manages that very, very poorly. And do I think that potentially under someone else, we could have gone on to win 2 Euros, got past France, and maybe into a World Cup final against Argentina? Yes, I do. But in answer to the question of, is Gareth Southgate a legend? Well, I give you this answer. Yes. Yes, he is. The reason he is because there are people in history, we look back at it over time, some who make great success out of life. They're the reason why we have the buildings we do today. We speak the languages we do today. They were the pivotal figures. But there are also people in history who are turning point people. And I think Gareth Southgate is a turning point person. He's taken England from abject poverty when it comes to success in football, a laughing stock of the footballing world. And he has made us into something that teams do now fear. We've got teams that do decide to sit back because they know that's a way to beat us, but they also feel like if they just go at us, they'll get taken out. We have a situation here where we have got a team full of youngsters, a very low average age, of absolute world-class players, and what he has now done is made England an appetising option for good managers. If you told me back when Gareth was getting appointed that Jurgen Klopp was a possibility, Pep was a possibility, I'd laugh in your face. There's no way they'd consider England. We're nonsense. We're a waste of their time. But now I sit here and go, as unlikely as it still is, and I do think it'll be an Eddie Howe or a Graham Potter, I can't just say it's impossible. It won't happen. Because why wouldn't it? You look at our team, and it's the perfect opportunity for a world-class manager to go, I could dominate international football for a good 10-year period, win a lot of trophies, and turn one of the biggest giants in football back into what they should be and have never been able to become. Look, that's my view on it. I hope that you stuck with the whole video and at least gave me the time to explain. And hopefully you can understand where I come from. People can be legendary for many different reasons. I think we will look back on Gareth as turning this team into what it should now become. Let me know your thoughts in the comments though. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Smash that like button, drop a subscribe because there's more of this content coming and the football season is just around the corner. I will see you all in the next video.